meet my bride. Let's go for a ride in my newfangled automobile. Just where we will go, nobody knows, but it's sure a great way to feel. Behind the wheel of the speed meter steel, it's my newfangled automobile. Hello and welcome to Vintage Car History. I'm Wild Bill. Throughout automotive history, many manufacturers built and still build race cars to both promote their brand and to apply what they learn on the track to their production cars. Prior to World War I, the difference between race cars and production car was often not very much. But some companies built some absolutely huge and very successful race cars that were far too absurd to go into production. One such company was Itala. The company's earliest beginnings are in the Italian city of Cuneo, where Giovanni Battista Ceirano was born in 1860. His father, also Giovanni, was the local watchmaker and owned a small shop in town. He was homeschooled and apprenticed in his father's shop as a watchmaker. He was eventually joined by his brothers, Giovanni, born in 1865, yeah, lots of Giovannis in this family, Ernesto and Matteo at the shop. With Dad and all the brothers in one little watch shop, things got rather crowded, and so the oldest of Giovanni, brother, left home in 1880 and headed north to Turin to seek his fortune. For the next 8 years, he continued to work on technical apprenticeships that were not available in the small village of Cuneo, gaining experience and prominence in both machining and engineering. He decided, while he was apprenticing, to open his own business in 1883, which he named Officine G. Ceirano, Cicle Wellius. He chose to call his bikes Wellius as the name sounded English, and British cycles were quite popular in Turin at the time. His shop, just a rented portion of a larger warehouse, proved successful, and by 1888, all of his other brothers had joined him in the venture. The following decade, the brothers took some serious interest in motorcycles and cars. They began racing both in races across Italy and Europe, performing well and gaining considerable renown as winning drivers. The lessons learned on the track led to them to try their hand at designing and making cars themselves. In 1899, they built their first prototype car under the Wellius name and presented it to Giovanni Agnelli. This car would become the basis of the first Fiat. The brothers set up a new company dedicated to making cars that year, the Ceirano GB&C Company, to make their design, and had begun production when Agnelli came along in midsummer and purchased their design and the company. So the brothers founded a new company, Fratelli Ceirano, and through this firm established quite a few new Italian car manufacturers, each brother spearheading one project or another. At the same time, the brothers honed their engineering skills and began to really study car design. The brothers knew pretty much everybody involved with Fiat, including a young and very bright engineer named Giulio Cappa, who was working in their engineering department while he finished up his degree at the University of Turin. Matteo Ceirano and Cappa worked well together, and so in their spare time they began designing cars. In late 1903, Matteo formed a new company, Itala, which would begin car production the following year. The first Itala cars were designed by Matteo and Cappa with 3 models available, an 18, a 24, and 50 horsepower, all with racing in mind. They sported 4-cylinder engines, 3-speed transmissions, and final chain drive. The Ceirano brothers drove these cars in various races, performing well and establishing Italia as a true sporting make of car. The following year, Itala began to make truly huge engined race cars of monster power. These massive machines had inline-4 engines of over 12 liters, 14.9, and 16.6, putting out 80, 100, and 112 horsepower, respectively. Giovanni himself drove the 100-horsepower car to victory at the 1905 Coppa Florio race and also won the Targa Florio the following year. For the next 10 years, Itala race cars were a dominant force in European racing. They were also quite innovative. Italia as a company were pioneers in the use of lightweight alloy pistons, which proved to make balancing the engine easier while also reducing weight. In 1912, they also pioneered the use of rotary valves. Their four-cylinder engines had only two valves, both round and each one feeding a pair of cylinders. The valves had four ports, two for intake and two for exhaust, that would connect at the appropriate time to the single port on each cylinder. Effective and efficient. At the same time, Itala made production cars for general sale as well as small engine race cars to compete in the racing circuits meant for light cars. Itala cars could be bought as small, lightweight commuter cars, luxury cars, and even grand touring sports cars, a few of which left the factory with 12.9-liter engines tuned for touring and not for racing. Prior to World War I, Itala competed directly with Fiat on the Italian car market and acquitted well. Though the company would continue to make cars after the war, they never achieved the same level of success on the track and in the marketplace again, and ceased production by 1930. The Ceirano brothers were amongst the giants of early Italian automotive industry, and they truly built some giant race cars. Thanks for watching Vintage Car History, and we'll see you next week.